this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And of course, you are with us on our show today where we bring you all the fun stuff. So today, we're going to talk about something that is something to do with dance, theatre and all. What is it all about, Gowri?
So we will be talking to the people from Indigo Soul Project. They are having a musical called Stand the Musical, which will be premiering in August. And with us, we have the director, Mr. SelvaKumar, as well as the lead actress, Swati, here with us at Durian Asan today to share with us about the whole project and the musical. So let's say hello and good morning to them.
Hey!
Hi guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So how's your morning?
Lots of
Hot,
coffee.
loaded with coffee, yes. Good.
So thank you so much for coming in today, and perhaps we can start with a little introduction. Maybe Swati first. What do you do? What's your background, and how you got involved in Sand the Musical?
Oh, okay. Thanks for having us. Basically, I have some background in dance, in music, and in acting as well. So it's a bit of a mixed process. I started dance at a young age and all that, focusing mainly on Indian classical. And then piano, I took on Western piano and had some experience with acting and all that with the Temple of Fine Arts. And recently I was asked to take part for Sand as well, as one of the lead actors. So actually it's been quite a fun process so far. New experiences, meeting new people, delving into new, I would say, territory, because Sand is not just an Indian focused musical or performance. It's actually got elements from different parts of the world, if you may. So it's very fun actually, and Uncle Selva is our director.
Uncle Selva.
He just revealed his age on air, so there's nothing we can do about that.
It's just a name.
So yeah, Mr. Selva, maybe you can give a little introduction.
Shed a light about Sand.
Sand is a very important project for us. I think we've literally stepping out from our small boutique shows for the first time with it. We've done fairly sizable shows before, but we're always looking for avenues to create music. So we were looking for a platform to create a variety of genres to mess around with. Very happy we've got 19 amazing songs, and I think Sand is a way for us to showcase the different ways we can put together music as a fusion element. And so the storyline as well has come across quite nicely. The dance element has come across quite nicely. So we're just a short while away, looking forward to it.
And tell us a bit more about Indigo Soul Project. I think it's been around for 5 years, you were mentioning earlier. So how it got started, and what are the other past productions you've had?
The name itself, Indigo Soul Project, is I think the whole emphasis was my background is on focusing on talent development, and I have this crazy interest with music, and I wake up with music. I go through my day with music. Excuse me. And
your whole life is a musical.
Music. Sorry.
Your whole life is a musical.
I would say that, yes. I mean, you could turn it into a musical. So Indigo is, if you look at the Eastern spirituality, I mean, we're not delving into that here, but it's a color of the third eye where it forces you to look inwards.
Okay.
So it's a search where we use talent to, seek fulfillment. So the soul aspect is for us, we're looking to work with people who are very passionate about their creative work, and we look at everything that we do as a series of projects. So that's how the name literally came about. Over the last 5 years that we've been around, we've done productions all related to music, everything from dance dramas to straight up percussion shows to poetry recitals with open mic sessions to, we are an anything goes organizations as long as there's music and there's creativity involved.
And you mainly work with young people.
Yes.
Why?
I find them very innovative, highly creative, with constant input of ideas, and they work in a way that I like to work. I don't like to tell people how to do things. I like to create a template a concept, and I like everybody to input their ideas. And San has pretty much been that process. I think all the projects that we've done has been like that, and it's always been richer because of that.
Maybe can you elaborate more on how Indigo Soul Project helps with the talent development that you were mentioning earlier?
For example, if I took this particular production, our music director is 23 years old.
Wow.
His first performance was with us. He comes from a classical and contemporary percussion background, but he's got an amazing talent. I like to throw people into the deep end. Experience is important, of course, but I think experience is something that you accumulate very quickly when you're given responsibilities. And this is stuff that I do in my coaching work as well, but this is in Indigo, it allows me to put this to practice. Likewise, we've got so many other people where we've given significant roles. For example, the leaflets that you're looking at,
Right.
They were designed by my daughter, who's 19 years old. This is all hand drawn, and the videos that we put together was done by my other daughter, who is 14 years old. I think as long as there's talent and I recognize it, I like to put them up front in a position where in any other setting they would probably have to work their way up. That's a good process. I appreciate that as well. But I think people learn faster when you give them room to develop.
So when someone is standing at the edge of a pool thinking of how to get in,
I tend to go
you're
push
the
them
kind
in.
of person who will just like push them in, like go in there, just float your way out, whatever.
Yeah. By the way, this is not cheap labor.
And speaking about that, since we're talking about young people here, do you feel like there is a good response from the young people? Because I feel like everyone's just trying to be doctors, engineers. How's the response been for the creative
I like
scene?
that question very much, because I sincerely believe, I'm a proud Malaysian, I sincerely believe that we have amazing talent in the country. I think we just don't have enough platforms for them to express themselves in any area, not just the performing arts. And we would happily work with anybody who is in this field, because I think even with this particular production, I'm amazed at how this has turned out. It's been a year in the making since we first started this. So along the way,
so it's been a year you guys practice for San.
from the time I had a smoke. Am I allowed to say that on radio? It started with me and the music director having a chat, taking a break from another production. I asked him, what would you like to do? Because he's always been working on my concepts. And he said, I'd love to work on a musical. So let's do it. And literally the next day we started.
Right.
So we just put together the storyline, got in people to write the script, write the lyrics and stuff like that. And the lyrics are amazing by a guy called Vix Chandra. And all of them, they just came together and they came up with this. It's literally guys, young guys, who've just come together and put together a project, not even asking what the fee was going to be. And that's very, very gratifying for me. And I seriously think there's amazing talent out there that
and
I'm happy to type.
these are young people as well.
All very young people, yeah.
So let's talk about the storyline. So how did you manage to get this storyline, the 16th century Rajasthan love story and a Malaysian musical?
The storyline is very simple. Santosh Logendran is our music director. So he said, he had this love story. So I told him, Santosh, this is such a cheesy love story. But essentially, what we wanted to do was keep the storyline simple. That was deliberate. The setting, Rajasthan, like I always say, this could have been set anywhere. But we chose Rajasthan for a specific purpose. We wanted to just go out and entertain. So we looked for something that could allow us to, explore, go crazy creatively. So Rajasthan is interesting because it's basically set in a desert. Very bleak, but also very inspiring at the same time. It's all very beige. The colors are, even the climate and the colors are very exotic. Their culture is very, very exotic. It's very colorful, very rich in music and their traditions. And it has the Mughal Islamic influence, it has the Indian Hindu influence, it has the British influence because of the occupation and stuff like that. So immediately there was a lot to play with. So that being the starting point, we developed a storyline and brought a contemporary fusion feel to it with regards to the music and the dance and the various expressions. So I think that's basically why we chose Rajasthan, essentially.
So do you incorporate that into all the costumes? Because we know that Rajasthan it's all about the colors, the accessories.
Yeah.
So that must be, so it's quite actually a very flamboyant, glamorous setting.
Flamboyant is the word. Essentially, this production was going to be, it was going to have a lot of props and all that kind of stuff. But I decided to focus on what these guys are good at.
Okay.
The music, the dance, and the acting. So, we decided to strip away everything now. So it's a bare minimal stage with very colorful costumes, with rich music, wonderful dance. So we just wanted the audience to focus on that without having too much of a flash production going on behind them.
Okay.
We might do that next year, the flash production. But this year is all about the colors, the music. It's basically designed specifically to appeal to all the senses. I don't know how to put food into people's mouth, but maybe they will smell something there, something good. Because that's usually how we create all our production.
Anyway,
it appeals to all senses.
Yeah.
We will discuss more about this. We'll take one short break.
Anything can happen Friday. The art and cultural side of Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
Of course, you are back again with Selva and Swati on our discussion today.
Right. So let's shift the spotlight to Swati for a bit.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about your role in this production. What do you play? How has the preparation been for the whole role? And most importantly, how is this role key to the entire story?
Okay, I play Princess Vaidehi, one of the lead actresses. And she's basically a very free-spirited princess, not your typical,
graceful,
very graceful, very.
So she's not a damsel in distress.
Not really, actually. She doesn't. She actually doesn't feel like that. She's more of the. She'd like to go to explore things, and she's the adventurous, very curious about the outside world instead of being in the palace and all that. So she's very feisty, very passionate about life, about meeting new people and discovering new things. So it's really not your typical princess if you look at it that way. And she's actually the one of the central characters in the story.
Okay.
And she falls in love with this musician. So basically all her emotions or all her feelings she is able to express in this relationship with this musician, where she wants to go out to explore the world, otherwise she's basically set in this palace. So she has that opportunity. Once she actually falls in love and all that, she is able to go out, able to explore, meet people, and that is her little escape from her life. So she actually is very happy, very fun, but of course, in that whole setting of being in the palace, she feels very caged up or very following protocol and all those things.
And how's your preparation for the role?
It's actually a lot of fun, really a lot of fun. The rehearsals to actually our discussions after rehearsals, before rehearsals, it's really just the whole process. Everyone, together and talking about how we can develop the character, how we can explore things, how we can make it, different, or how we can make it our own.
Right.
So it's actually not just for me, but for all the other actors or all the other characters as well.
Okay.
It's a unique process that everyone has to go into ourselves. I mean, we literally explore our own personal feelings and how we can make the character come alive.
So just want to be clear, is it a love story or is it like a friendship story? Or is it a story about a girl exploring
Oh no, it is
the outside world?
it is a love story in a way, but of course, the princess in this sense is actually trapped, or she feels very restricted in the palace and all that, and how by actually exploring outside and meeting new people and all that, she can in a sense find her escape. But actually it's her falling in love with Ram, who is the musician, and it's a bit of a not tragic, but it's not your typical
it doesn't work out.
It's not your typical
Right. Okay.
typical story ending.
So you do have some Indian classical dance background you
Yes.
were mentioning earlier. But apart from that, is there anything specific you had to do in order to bring that Princess Rajasthani feeling to your character?
Did you have to watch movies or theater from that era or something?
I wouldn't really say so, but there's a particular part where I had to actually choreograph a Kathak piece, which is Kathak is
Okay.
a Indian classical dance from North India. So that was specifically for this for one of the scenes in the play.
Okay.
So that's been interesting because I've never really actually explored choreographing for Kathak and trying to match the emotions with the dance itself. So that's actually quite interesting.
Earlier on, you mentioned that it's also a fusion of other elements. Perhaps you can share what are the fusion elements you incorporate in this play, musical play.
The fusion elements, I think, will come through specifically with the music, and also with the dance, because the dance expression is mainly contemporary, but of course we've infused it with a lot of the Indian elements as well. But then, having said that, there's also a flamenco piece.
Okay.
There's a little bit of ballet, things like that. But the music, if, for example, the instruments that we have, we've got 13 musicians. We've got a full-on drum kit. We've got a tabla, dolet. Then we've got a string section, the violin, the cello, and then we've got the pianist, the keyboardist, and on top of that we've got the sitar, the harmonium, and the gambos, because we were bringing in elements of the Islamic influence together with the Indian influence and stuff. So there's a and the music carries a wide range of emotions as well. So the percussion pieces sometimes sounds quite African. So we're telling a storyline set way back then in contemporary today, but we brought in the various influences from around the world to tell a story how we want to tell it today. Yeah.
No, and apart from that, because I was asking you about the music earlier, and you mentioned about all the instruments. Maybe you can tell us a bit about your music director. How exactly did he manage to bring in that? Because you said we are staging something that happened back then in the contemporary time. Yeah. So what was the challenge there in terms of creating that music feel?
I think if I was referring to challenge, I think it's been me challenging him. Me sitting down here and telling him, okay, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to do. So, there's 19 songs today because I kept telling him, I'd like to add this element, I'd like to add that element, and the amazing thing is how he's responded. Towards the end, I was telling him, Santosh, we've got Prince Irham here, I would like to show this side of Prince Irham. I would like to create the Azan feel. Okay, and then can you create a very Qawwali type of song? And he says, okay. And then, so I don't know what okay means until the next day he turns up and it's an amazing piece. He's gone and done things literally overnight with 19 different songs.
Okay.
That's the talent I'm speaking about, raw talent that needs to be given a chance. So the way he's brought about this is looked at that piece, and how he would like to present it today. And that's, I think, essentially been his process. And it's been a very pleasurable experience just working on that process with him.
So you have 19 songs of total the production, and they're all in English.
They're all in
Anything
English.
in Hindi?
There are two pieces that has a Punjabi feel to it. It's also in Punjabi. The reason is because we wanted to actually have some pieces that are classical, as close as possible to classical music as possible. Some of our other productions we've done pure classical, but to go entirely classical with this we thought wouldn't work, so we went as close as possible to classical as we could. Yeah.
Why do you think the younger audience will like this? Of course, you have a beautiful young cast.
I think I have huge respect for everybody who's doing theatre and music out there, and we are essentially not a theatre company. That's a difference with us, and we are exploring something new. And I think what the young audience can appreciate is that it's innovative. We've done things, I think, that has not been done in the local scene yet. Definitely, the people in the industry who do other stuff has influenced us and inspired us in different ways. But I think we've taken a bold step. In a way, also, that, one of the brief was that this is not going to be standard theatre. This is not a movie. This is something in between. Okay, this is not the kind of standard music we would play in a theatre. This is not a standard soundtrack in a movie, but it's something in between. So we even have Broadway elements in there, very Disney type songs, and Vix was amazing with the lyrics, and so put together, I think the younger audience would feel that, okay, and I hope it inspires them. Oh, we can do stuff like this, we can go out and just create stuff like this, and we can just set ourselves free to explore. And if we achieve that, I think we've achieved quite a bit of what we set out to do.
So you also mentioned earlier that some of this will be turned into video projects.
Yeah.
So can you explain a bit about that?
I think essentially the direction Indigo is taking is to get onto the online platform. Live performances, we love doing live performances, but we generally find that the future and also what we want to do is very much related to an online platform. So a lot of elements from SAN and the different productions that we do will end up on a video platform, which will essentially be an Indigo channel. And it's also a way to connect and work with people from around the world, like we are going to do in our next project as well.
So you're gonna have you're sort of gonna be the pioneer in online theatre, if I may put it that way.
Thank you for suggesting that. I didn't think about it that way.
That is very innovative.
Theatre. That's interesting. Yes, thank you. Yes, certainly an online presence in the different ways we do things. But yeah, I will explore the theatre bit.
Okay, but that's still in the works.
Yes.
But will Send the Musical be the first one to actually go online?
That is the intention, because what we wanted to do at the end of this production, but we really didn't have the time because we are going to prepare for the next one in October, was that we were going to shoot this without an audience as well, and to create it specifically for an online viewing. So, but we will finish that later this year, and
so
it'll be up.
That would be an amazing experience to view it online. But for those that want to see it face to face, especially the actor and actresses, when and where they can go and see this?
We are staging SAN the Musical in Kwok Theatre, which is in Taman Tun. The theatre is in Pusat Creative Tengku Bainon. It's a new theatre. I think it's about 2 years old. It's a lovely black box in there. The acoustics are wonderful, and I think the music would really come through very well there. It's it's in August 13th to the 16th, and August 20th to the 23rd.
Right.
And they can check more on your Facebook and Instagram as well as Twitter page.
Yeah, I think Facebook and Instagram would be the best bet, and they can also purchase the tickets from Ticket Pro online or at the various outlets in the shopping malls.
Right, so I think that'll be all. Thank you so much, Mr. Selva and Swati, for joining us today and sharing about the Indigo Soul project as well as Send the musical.
Thank you, Durian ASEAN.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks all.
Anything can happen Friday. The art and cultural side of Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome to Durian ASEAN. You're with Gowri.
And you're with Grace.
And of course today we have Susan here with us in the studio from the Peace Clinic, who is here to share with us a few things about our mental health, stress, and a few other elements as well. Well, let's say good morning to Susan first. Hello.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here. Good
Good
morning
to-
to you,
yeah.
Arlene and Grace. Thank you.
Good to have you back as well.
It's good to be back. Thanks.
So, we are here today because of a talk you're having tomorrow as
Yes,
well.
that's right, yeah.
Which is about handling stress.
Yes, yeah. We call it psychological competence, how to manage your stress in a peaceful way. So it really helps people look into stress from a very different angle. And I would say it's from the angle of with awareness, meaning you are able to now understand how stress works from the inside rather than from the outside. Right. Yeah.
And speaking of that, maybe you can enlighten us on the different types of problems that people usually face when it comes to their mental health.
So we normally talk about mental health from a level of stress. I think the word stress is general enough for everybody to understand. And what we tell people is that, when you are experiencing stress, depending on the intensity of it, it can actually lead to the different types of categories, if you want to call it that way. Generally, the common ones are anxiety, depression. It can also lead to bipolar, or the old name for it is manic depression. Some people, of course, also experience schizophrenia with it. And some people experience obsessive compulsive disorder, and all the way, ultimately we will be looking at suicidal tendencies as well. Yeah.
So does stress always lead to anxiety or not necessarily?
I would say if you don't do anything about it, and if you are always suppressing your emotions, then it will start to build up and it will get more intense. Yes, it does.
There are a lot of people who do not do anything about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
When they get stressed, they will just easily think it will go away.
Yes,
I will
that's
do
right,
better.
yeah.
But then I guess it sort of stacks up after
It does
some
stacks
time.
up, yeah.
And then some people, they tend to like burst out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Because one of the things that, if we're not aware of it, one of the things that we tend to do is we tend to just suppress it, and we'll use our mind to try and justify. It doesn't matter. Maybe the person doesn't mean it, or like you say, maybe I'll do better next time. But then again, we don't realize that, even though we may have fixed it on the outside, but on the inside, it's still being kept. Unless we process it, it will be there forever. And I find that when we are younger, that strategy, or the way we do it and we just keep it inside, it does work because it's not stacked up yet, like you say. But as we grow older and it starts to accumulate, depending on how big our container is on the inside, it will come to a point whereby it starts to all come out. And this is the analogy I always say. What we tend to then do is try to change lids, and that's why it just keeps popping up. And so people who are experiencing outbursts sometimes don't even know why they they get so angry about something, and they can try and give themselves reasons, but they'll end up going, after the outburst, they'll say, oh my god, it's such a small matter, I don't even know why I got angry in the
Right.
first place.
Well, one of the images or the news article that I read before, people with stress and depression, I may talk about a bit extreme side, but then they also kill people to express their on emotions.
Oh, as a way to deal with
Yeah.
As a way to deal with it. Well, one of the things that can happen is when we start suppressing our emotions. So just to give you a little bit of background, the opposite of suppressing your emotions is actually allowing yourself to feel through it. The only way to feel through our emotions is actually through our sensations, through our senses, okay? Because there is a sensation. So how do we suppress our emotions? We can only suppress it by numbing out our senses. Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
So once we numb our senses, we don't know how to feel, all right? And if we numb it enough, we then blocked. We blocked ourselves. And that's why people who are doing acts like ending up killing someone and all that, they don't really know what they're doing.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's almost like a blur for them.
Okay.
Yeah. And if there is any reason that they give themselves, it's all unreal because they are already running away from reality, and that's why they're numbing and blocking, and so they're creating their own reality.
But Susan, we're living in the 21st century now.
Yes.
Everyone has more than one job, and the traffic is always bad, especially in KL.
Yes.
Would it be acceptable to say that stress is actually a normal part of life? That it's just there, it's something that you just have to deal with?
Yes, and that's the key word that you say, is something that you have to deal with. The question then is, how do you deal with it in the term that we use, in a gentle and in a peaceful way, where nobody needs to get hurt? Yeah, because when we suppress those emotions, then what happens is we're hurting ourselves. And then we keep suppressing it until a level where we can't take it anymore, and it starts to lash out. Okay? When it comes out that way, it's normally quite ugly. And then somebody close to us tend to get hurt. And when we hurt someone that we care about a lot, we will also hurt ourselves. So those strategies, they are, what I tell people, they are very, very old strategies. Okay? We do need to upgrade. We are in the 21st century. We've been upgrading our computers, our phones, our cars, whatever on the outside. But I think we've forgotten to upgrade one of the most important things, which is how we deal with stress. Because whether we like it or not, the stress that we are dealing with today in the 21st century is very different.
Right.
I mean, just about, 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, life is very different. Yeah. You don't have smartphones to start off with. Yeah, you don't even have handphones, I think, at that time. Right? So when you make an appointment with your friend, you just hope that you get to meet each other. Yeah. Just simple things like this. There is less cars. We didn't have the internet, so information is really not that fast. So stimulation in general, when we talk about stress, is more the stimulation is at a lower level. But now that it's heightened, we can't use the old strategies anymore.
But could stress be used as a motivation to get things done?
Well, this is what I hear all the time. People say, there's this belief system that if I'm not stressed, then, I won't get my work done. I really like to just kind of open up your mind about the dangers of using stress to motivate yourself, because that's one of the reasons how it can actually lead to what we call general anxiety. These are the people who use the technique of I need to fix it now. So that's there's a danger in using that. And it's also a myth to think that you need to struggle to be able to get things done.
Right.
We don't really need to. We can do things in a peaceful way. And in fact, at a state of peace, we can actually be at a much more optimum level. So every time, if you feel that you are stressing out, you need to stop. You really need to stop doing, take a quick break, even if it's just 5 minutes. And you realize when you come back again to your work, let's say, for example, you have much more clarity.
It's very interesting that Gowri asked, because I've got few artsy people from the art industry, of course, and then most of them not everyone, of course.
Uh-huh.
Most of them like to do last minute work. That's also
Yes.
because they get the adrenaline rush
Yes,
at the last
yeah.
minute, and then they believe that that's when they can produce the most creative work ever. So they use that the last minute stress
Yeah.
to create something.
Yes,
and
yes.
then they're pretty happy with it so far.
I think even Bill Gates said that he would hire someone who does last minute work because they're more efficient and they're quick thinkers.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So again, it's not a matter of whether you do it over a span of time or you do it at the last minute. But are you coming from a place of fear or are you coming from a place of peace? And I think that
Right.
makes a huge distinction.
Can you elaborate a bit more about that? What it means about the place of fear and
Okay,
peace?
yeah. So one of the things that we realize is when we suppress our emotions and we don't allow ourselves to be able to feel into our emotions, what happens is then we create a fear, and that fear stems from the fact that we are actually afraid of feeling, right? And because if we don't allow ourselves to feel, what happens is we are not able to be in the present moment.
Right.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So one of the fastest way for us to escape is to actually escape up into our mind and start conjuring thoughts and start analyzing things.
Right.
Yeah. So again, I'm not saying thinking is bad, but if there is a 90-10 rule, I would say 10% of the time is probably all we need for thinking. The other 90%, really, we should be experiencing. And that's what we're here for. We're here to experience. And in order to experience, we have to be able to feel. And that's essentially how it works. So if we don't allow ourselves to feel, then we are afraid, i.e. we're afraid of ourselves. And what happens then, we create this fear. And this fear will then develop into all the different stress types that we've been talking about. Yeah, and that's how we have been living. So again, only you know yourself whether you are motivating yourself from a place of fear or a place of peace. Because if you are doing something and there's this strong grip inside and you are always in a panic mode, and this we know from basic science as well, or basic biology, when we're in panic mode, we are operating from a place of fight-flight. Okay? Now, in that state, our body goes into emergency and it creates a lot of destructiveness for the systems in our body. One of the biggest, and it's not the body is purposely trying to do it, because if there is a life and death threatening event that happens to us and we kick into the fight-flight mode, what will happen is, these are some of the basic few things, our digestive system will immediately shut down. Because, if someone is coming to kill you, yeah, you're trying to fight your way or run away, you have no time to think about eating, right? So the digestive system will shut down, okay? So that's why some people find that when they are stressed, when they're working a lot and they're stressed, they forget about eating.
Yeah.
Right? Now, think about it. This is the most basic thing. This is how we nurture ourselves. So, yes, we get the work done. So, on the outside, things get done. But at what price? At what price? We are, without knowing, slowly but surely killing ourselves. And what does this cause? I always tell people, I said, this would cause, it's very destructive for the self. And my clients will look at me and say, well, what does that mean, Susan? I say, okay, let me make it much easier for you to understand. It's premature aging.
Then people will be like,
Get it, right? And I go, you don't want that, right? They said, no, I don't want it. I say, yeah, that's right. So really, if you're always coming from a place of peace, you can still get things done.
Right.
Without sacrificing the self. And this is all about self-love and self-care as well.
for sure.
Yeah.
And at the Peace Clinic, you also have a way of measuring the stress level.
Yes, we do. We have this device that you can actually measure your stress levels. It only takes about a few minutes. It's a very interesting device, and the way it actually works is it actually measures your heart rate variability. And what that means is it actually measures the timing between each beat of your heart.
Okay.
And from that information, they're able to pull it into a graph. And from the graph, there are actually 3 key indicators that will show in a short span of time, just about, say, maybe about 3 minutes, and we take that as a sample. Are you operating at a destructive level, and the term that they use is low coherence, or are you operating at a peaceful level, and the scientific term they use is high coherence. Okay, so what they are essentially measuring is, are your system all working together, or are they fighting with each other?
Right.
Yeah. So it's very, very interesting when people actually do that. They can actually see how they are measured. So what we do is, when we are doing the measure, this is what we're measuring. So we tell people, ideally, you want to be in a state where it doesn't matter what's happening on the outside. You should still be able to feel peaceful on the inside, correct? And that's ideal. Realistically, we are all still working towards that ideal. So what happens is, there will be some things on the outside that will affect us on the inside. And as I'm talking, you kind of can pick out, okay, what are the things that will affect me on the inside?
Already doing it.
Yes, yeah. And so the interesting thing is, the things that affect you, Grace, for example, will not affect me. And the things that affect you will not affect me. You know,
For
like
sure.
things that affect me. So even though it's different, but there are some things, okay? But minimum requirement. If our outside is in a normal state, i.e. there's no emergency, nobody's putting a gun at your head and all that, right? We should be peaceful on the inside, right? Where we do not want to be is, the outside is peaceful, but we're having a war on the inside. And this is what that device is able to show us. Because when we are measuring, and a lot of times people are in our clinic, right? And I always tell them, I say, this is fairly peaceful environment, I would say. And they go, yeah, it is much more peaceful than outside, right? I said, we should be able to match that minimum requirement. So if we detect any destructive nature, that means it's like self-created stress. That's, and that is the premature aging that we're doing.
And let's talk a bit about depression. Well, there's 2 theories to depression, I think, where people say that it's just a state of mind that you can just snap out of, like you're just actually sad, or you just want attention, or whatever it is. But after we had a few key figures that passed away, like Heath Ledger and Robin Williams, and then that's when a lot of people came forward to say, see, depression is actually a real thing. So what is your take on this? Is depression actually an illness?
Well, we can look at it from both sides. Yeah. For someone who is not experiencing it and watching someone else without understanding, because one of the things about mental illness, doesn't matter whether it's anxiety, depression, or the different states that we've talked about, is you can't see it. Sometimes we say, someone who doesn't have a doesn't have a physical limb or something, for example, at least we can see it. And we know how to help that person. I think one of the biggest frustrations that all of us get, not just the person who is experiencing depression, but people who care for us as well, is that they go, I don't know how to help.
Exactly.
So the person on the outside, to say that it is a state of mind, it is not wrong. It really is a state of mind. And if we know how to switch it, you can actually switch it in just a split of a second. It really is a state of mind. Unfortunately, for the person who is going through it, it is very real. Very, very real. Yeah. For example, someone who is going through schizophrenia, for example, the images that they have in their mind, the sounds that they hear, the voices that they hear, is real for them. Right? But it is a reality that they have created.
Right.
Even though it's not real in the real world, but it's created, so therefore it is real for them.
Right.
So there's these two sides here.
Mhm.
Yeah. So to a certain extent, if we can understand how it is working on the inside and what we need to do, then we can actually work towards it rather than one person trying to say, hey, why don't you just snap out of it? And the other person
Right.
say, I can't, you know.
right.
Yeah. And that doesn't help anybody. Yeah.
And what are some of the ways that people use to deal with either depression or anxiety or stress?
Which is what we are recommending, or what are people
What are
commonly
people
using?
doing? Like you were mentioning earlier about different types of holics.
All right. Okay. Yes. So the common way that most people use to address the different types of stress level is they're still using things on the outside to help them feel better on the inside, and this is something that we do not recommend. We find that this is a very old or traditional strategy of handling stress. So someone would say, oh, maybe I need a holiday, or maybe I should go for a massage, or the common one that we've heard people doing is, maybe I should just go shopping, you know,
Yeah.
Right.
buy something, yeah. And sometimes we end up buying things that we don't even need. And I've heard my friends saying, I don't know why I bought that. You know, I remember buying it, but when I got home and after a week I look at it and go, what was that for?
Right. Because they were in a different state of
They
mind.
were in a different
at that
state of
time.
mind, and this is what I mean by, you know, when we don't feel good about ourselves, we try to use something on the outside to make us feel better on the inside, and it can be in many different forms.
For
yeah?
sure.
Yeah. So, yes. So you mentioned the different holics, and I tell people this. I say, yeah. So you know, anything that has a holic behind it, it's one of the ways that we use, and it's really a form of addiction. Yeah. So shopping is a common one. Eating is another common one.
Another addiction I can add is especially among youngsters, right? Because we are in the 21st century. With the help of all the social media, they like to express themselves on Facebook,
Yes,
Twitter.
definitely.
That's another addiction, you know.
Yes, yes.
It's like their diary, but they want to show the people how they feel. So they expect them, like other people, to understand their situation.
Yes,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah, and that's very good that you brought it up, because one of the common ones that I do hear from a lot of my clients is just mindlessly surfing the net.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right, and this is really very common. I tell you, people just do that, or mindlessly scrolling their phone. You know, it's like there's really nothing there. Yeah. So every time they feel uncomfortable, they would try to
Yes,
fiddle
I've
the
seen
phone.
a lot of people doing
right?
that at
So
awkward moments also.
That's right. So these are all escape strategies, but they are very short term. Do they help? Of course they do. At that moment, they
Yeah.
actually do. You know, I do share with people. One of my addictions when I went through my burnout was buying books. I would say it's quite a cleverly hidden one, because at one point I was wondering, you know, is there something wrong with this behavior? And when I ask my friends, they all go, no, I mean, you're just buying books. No, there's nothing wrong with buying books, right? And how did I came to realization was I started buying books faster than I can read them.
Oh, so
Right?
you stack them.
I tell you, I have clothes cabinets that I stack them, right? And I was already contemplating creating a library system just to track my books, right? And then what happened was one day I actually, so with the buying books faster
Right.
than I can read, I made an excuse for myself. I tell people this. I said, oh, my hobby is not really reading. It's actually buying books.
He's playing at your place.
That's right, yeah. I said, I'm very good at choosing great books. Okay? So these are the little things that, excuses that we give ourselves.
All right.
Just so that we can hang on to the addiction. Because it's true, every time I don't feel good about myself, guess where you'll find me? At
Bookshop.
a bookstore. I can spend the whole day at a bookstore and not even have lunch. I've done that before because I need to at least buy, and I have to at least buy one thing. Depending on the intensity of how unhappy I am, you will see the number of books I'm buying.
Oh, so
Alright.
next time we see Susan.
Okay. So, and it got really bad to a point whereby I started buying books that I already have and I have not even opened the wrapper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this was 10 years ago. And when I found that out, I told myself, you know, this has got to stop. This really has got to stop. And one of the first thing I did was stop myself from going to a bookstore, because that's the only way to break a habit. It's like if you're an alcoholic, stop going to the bar. It ain't gonna work, you know.
So Susan, what is the recommended long-term solution that you would recommend for people to deal with stress or depression?
Yes, yeah. So one of the things that we teach people in our clinic is what we call the peace process. Yeah, the peace process helps us learn how to feel into our emotions. As I've mentioned, one of the reasons why we actually experience high levels of stress to a point whereby we can't even control it anymore, and the symptoms are all showing, is because we're not allowing ourselves to feel into our emotions. Okay, so all we have to do really is to be able to feel into those emotions, and really it doesn't take very long. Between 2 to 5 minutes is all you need. Okay, and we normally recommend a practice of 3 times a day. Okay, so generally it's very important. We separate out into 4 steps. The first step is whenever you feel that you're not comfortable, or you can actually feel the stress levels building up, right? It's important to have that awareness to say, okay, stop, disengage from what you're doing, okay, and also disengage from the mind, because the mind is still working, right? And then what you do is bring your focus, so we call it step away from the mind, which is actually just bringing your focus to identifying where is this uncomfortable sensation. There will always be an uncomfortable sensation whenever we have gone to that stressful state. Once we identify where the uncomfortable sensation is, all we have to do is just allow ourselves to just observe it and just keep focusing on it, but not judge it and not try to get rid of it. It's almost like you are with a stranger and you're just observing without trying to interfere. And that really is how you feel into your emotions. Quite interesting. So and again, once you're able to do that, you will notice, as you're watching, you will notice the intensity of that sensation will start to reduce. And it does it by itself as long as you don't mess with it. But if you try to fix it, you try to get rid of it, it starts to grow.
Right.
Yeah. And this is not something magical. It's actually part of our biological system. It's just that we have to know how. It's almost similar to a burp. Whenever a burp is coming, what do? We know how to relax and then just let it come out. Same as a fart, right? You don't fight it. You don't try and hold it in, okay?
Let it go.
You let it go. That's how it is. It's the same with an emotion, You don't fight it. You don't even need to get rid of it. You just need to stand back and relax, but you just watch it and not try to go to the mind, because the mind will try to fix it, right? And then it will just know how to dissipate, and it will actually within 2 to 5 minutes come back to a very peaceful state. And only when you're back in a state of peace do you then look again to see what is the issue that you're dealing with. And trust me, it will look very different when you are back into a state of peace. Okay? And at that point, you will have what we call open mind.
Right.
You'll be able to think openly. That means you're able to stay neutral and accept the things for what it is. And if you can think openly, then you can act responsibly, which is all the things that we want. Being able to be at peace, unconditional love, compassion, empathy, forgiveness, all those things that we read about. We don't have to force ourselves to do it, because it's a natural human action. So all we have to do is come back to a state of peace, allowing ourselves to feel again, to be human again, and those things will come naturally.
This is a very healthy approach to understand yourself and your body after all.
I mean, at the end of the day, you want to work at your optimum level.
That's right.
You don't want to base it on something negative in order to motivate you. And I think we're almost running out of time. So, Susan, how can people find out more about the Peace Clinic or even the talk that you're having tomorrow?
You can actually contact us. Our contact number is 03-7733-2210. Okay, and you can also check us out on our website. There's information there. It's the THE-Peace Clinic PEACECLINIC.com.
All right. Okay. So thank you so much, Susan, for coming in and sharing some helpful tips with us.